What up, y'all? I have this an update about this man who allegedly unalived his three children. With that being said, let's get into it.
I just finished my first novel, Last Call at the Savoy, and it's getting published this year.
An urgent search is still underway for an Army vet suspected of killing his three young daughters in Washington state. Travis Decker is seen in these new images. Police are warning residents to be vigilant and lock their doors. The governor ordering the National Guard to assist in the search, joining the more than 100 deputies, agents, and officers. I'm Kennedy Walker, and I'll walk you through the details. You're watching Law and Crime. We've all heard that wrinkle creams are the secret to looking younger, but according to one Beverly Hills doctor, that might not be the whole story. Dr. John Lake, a renowned cosmetic surgeon and beauty expert, says that most wrinkle solutions on the market are just glorified moisturizers, and they don't always deliver the results they promise. In fact, some can even irritate your skin. But Dr. Lake did not stop there. He's been working on something new, an anti-aging breakthrough he calls the Age Renewer Method. It's a simple at-home technique that he says can visibly reduce the signs of aging in under 2 minutes. Think of it like a mini makeover, almost like Photoshop for your face, but real. If you're curious, well, Dr. Lake put together a short video showing you exactly how it works, step by step, so you can try it yourself at home. The response has been huge. The video's already gotten over 7.2 million views, and the reviews are pouring in. Thousands of women say they look noticeably younger. One even said, "Best results I've ever seen. I'll never stop using this." If you want to see what it's all about, just go to bhmd1.com/law or click the link in the description below. Again, that's bhmd1.com/law. The manhunt intensifying for Travis Decker, the father accused of killing his three daughters, 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia, during a court-appointed custody visit. More than 100 police officers are combing campgrounds, hiking trails, and forest roads, desperately searching for the 32-year-old. Governor Bob Ferguson calling on the National Guard and deploying helicopters to support law enforcement.
Travis, if you're out there seeing us, we'd like you to turn yourself in. We want a peaceful resolution to this, but we're not going to relinquish our efforts and giving up any effort that we can proceed to track you down. So please turn yourself in. Let's wrap this up and do what's right for your kids.
Authorities releasing new images in recent doorbell camera video of Decker just before the killings. Their mother, Whitney, reported them missing after Decker failed to bring the girls home. She said she tried calling, but his phone went straight to voicemail. According to her, Decker was homeless and often stayed at local campgrounds. Documents show that back in September, Decker's overnight visits with his daughters had been revoked. The court order citing neglect of parental duties and emotional or physical problems affecting his ability to parent. It was further revealed Decker was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and was supposed to get mental health treatment and anger management, but had not. On June 2nd, the sisters were found zip-tied and asphyxiated. A deputy found Decker's white GMC Sierra pickup near the Rock Island campground in Leavenworth.
Going on 20 years, I don't think I've had a situation that has really almost prompted tears to come up.
Authorities are investigating the possibility that Decker could be in Canada. According to a U.S. Marshals Service affidavit, Google searches done in the days before Decker disappeared shows he allegedly looked up phrases including how to relocate to Canada and how does a person move to Canada. He also recently searched.
Bro, how are you gonna unalive your kids and then plan out a way to hide? Dude, you was a new level of evil, bro. That's just evil.
For information tied to a Canadian job site. Those searches leading to federal charges for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. That's on top of the murder and kidnapping charges Decker is already facing. Decker is a former Army soldier who has extensive military training and, according to police, is considered dangerous and potentially armed.
Yeah.
Talking with his father, it sounds at times that he would go out and would be leaving off grid for sometimes up to 2.5 months. So we also understand too that he at times would do caching So we understand that that's a possibility, that he could have scoped out this area before, put supplies out there, and has the ability and the knowledge to survive.
Hey, if you love training BJJ, but you have a pain that's just not going away, even after trying treatments like PT and
Or put supplies out.
Bottom line, this guy is evil, and they're most definitely going to need ex-military to go after this guy, or our current military.
And has the ability and the knowledge to survive for a long period of time.
Police say they have received over 500 tips from the public and will continue to look until they find him. Decker is described as 5'8" and 190 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Washington State Police are urging residents to lock their doors and windows and to leave their outside lights on. A $20,000 reward has been offered for any information leading to Decker's arrest. And here to break this down with me is retired NYPD Detective David Sarney. David, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's just jump right in. From your experience, when someone like Travis Decker disappears after a crime of this magnitude, what's the first thing that law enforcement typically does?
Well, what you're going to do is you're going to try to see what footprints he has, being social media, cell phone records, things like that. The vehicle is at the location. That's one thing. Apparently his phone is off. We don't know where it is at this point. He has pulled himself off the grid in a sense. Looks like, because I mean, this is where he commits a murder, kills 3 of his kids. Asphyxiation. I mean, the horror there. This looks like it was premeditated. It's planned. He flees the area. He was at the area prior, and that's one thing that the benefit of utilizing that phone work up on that phone to find out he was there prior. And they lose contact with him. But you're seeing the development of what he did. The post of this, when he flees, he had time to leave. He's planned this. He's planned it. He plotted it out. He's been there before. He knows the area. Did he get to Canada up immediately? Is he hiding somewhere within the farm, within the area? He's doing a grid search, but it's a massive search which rooms there. So all of the evidence that you have, which you usually do, is a phone record of the vehicle. The phone is not on, and the vehicle's located. So where can he be? And a guy who's lived off the grid could be anywhere at this point, given the fact of his flight. They have video and they have surveillance. They have some video footage and stills of him, around, but they don't have anything hardcore at this point to find him, to identify and locate where he is exactly.
Right, and it has been days at this point, and the manhunt is still underway. Do you think a reason why they haven't found him yet is just because they didn't move as quickly as they needed to in those first few hours when the mom, Whitney, reported the girls missing? She tried to, ask for an Amber Alert. They wouldn't grant her an Amber Alert. Just things like that really seem to push the process back. How fast does the response need to be in those first few hours, and how critical is that window?
It is critical, but here, given the fact of where he was, where the vehicle was, he already had that time available. An Amber Alert is beneficial. It didn't fit the parameters because it didn't seem like the kid. She had no way of showing they were endangered. They've had a good relationship prior to this. He always returned the kids on time. There was just some vitriol toward her, but not to the kids. So the police thought, and again, maybe this is something where we have to look at protocols now. When you have 3 missing kids, do you do an immediate whole Amber Alert and endangering the child and putting an NCIC alert out there and everything along those lines? This may gear that now, but it's after the fact. There was nothing. There were no true warning signs to see what was going on. Apparently, the judge thought, even though he didn't have a residence, he was considered homeless. He was still able to have a patient. So, if the judges feel that way, law enforcement, which deals with the execution of the work of the courts, they didn't see anything at that moment in time to do anything further than what they did, was when they searched the area, the general location where he and the kids could be, and they didn't find him. But by then, they're doing all this. He's long gone. I mean, he's not in the area anymore. They find the location, they find the car, they find the truck, and they find the kids. Not that far away from where the car and the truck is. And it's just something that no one saw it coming. They understood he had PTSD, but to the extent of just take the kids on that day in particular, and then decide today's the day I'm going to commit these murders. This was planned. I mean, that's what you have to look at. So there's crime of passion and the depth of mental illness. This is intentional. I mean, he was there prior to taking the kids there, so he already had this all set up. How fast the police will work is as fast as they can with what they have.
Right, and like how you said, he's most likely long gone from that place where they found the girls' bodies and they found the truck. They're now searching trails, forest roads, and maybe even into Canada, because we do know that there were those Google searches, according to investigators, of him, looking for jobs in Canada and things of that nature. What kind of coordination goes into that kind of multi-agency effort when you're searching everywhere?
Well, that's the thing. You have the lead, which is the county where the incident takes place, and then you expand it outward, and you're going to have federal law enforcement involved, and probably Canadian authorities involved in this also, given the fact that you're going to put a hyper search to find him. But here's the other issue. Is there a chance that he might have ended his life somewhere? That's another aspect of this. But we don't know right now. If this is a person who's possibly in the country, notifications out there, they're not supposed to be able to go through Canada there, but there's so many trails, there's no exact wall in a sense to deter him from going to Canada. It's just a matter of hopefully time. Someone will see him with all those photos out there, with that international assistance, putting the information out on social media, putting out the news on a regular basis.
Yep.
And someone will have to hopefully say something when they see him.
When it comes to searches like this, how exactly do police decide where to search? Because this is a lot of ground to cover. Is it based on tips, or do they rely more on technology?
And the fact that this guy has survival training is going to make it way, 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 way harder. Considering that this guy's got survival training and he's ex-military, it's going to be almost impossible to get this guy. Just saying.
And past behavior.
Well, you just hit on a whole bunch of things. You have technology, you have drones. They probably might have used drones in the area to find out where he was, because you have where the scene took place, the murder scene, the vehicle at the scene. You have those things to work on to do a man, sort of like a grid search. But then there's a point of how far does that grid search go? We can utilize drones to find for heat sensors. That could be used also. But the benefit also is the extent of getting the video cameras out there, finding ways in which to identify where he's been. And we're seeing this more and more, where we have so much good video out there. There's almost nowhere where you can go and not get on video. But here's the issue. This took place in a national park, and there are no cameras there. And this is someone who was there before. He's been in the area before. He knows. He's not a dumb person. This isn't something where he just, with a spur of the moment. This is a planned event, and then he probably planned his escape from that area.
Right, and we've heard that he has extensive military survival training on top of that. How does that change the way teams approach looking for someone like him, right? Because like how you said, this isn't just, random person like me, just getting lost out there. This is someone that knows the area, has experience in the area, and just has that military training on top.
Correct, and that's what you're dealing with. You're going to probably have military. Anyone who's been with him in the military, they might use them as resources, information for him. Any past friends, associates, because this is a murder. It's a triple murder of his kids, and I can't see anyone has known him in the past that won't assist law enforcement in at least finding out where he could have gone, where he has been, what type of training, how he handled it. We see and we've heard the extensive training has not only just military training, but he's got arms training. Does he have weapons? Does he have the ability to, kill someone with that? Yeah, he's already killed before. He's been in the military. He has issues. So this is a highly dangerous person that needs to be found and arrested as soon as possible.
But again, I guess a big question that a lot of people are asking is if he is believed to be off of the grid and possibly hiding in nature, how do you even begin to strategize a search?
Well, that's where you're going to have to do that type of, boots on the ground grid type search, and that's what you're going to be seeing also. You've been having that before. They're opening up areas, and I guarantee they've opened these areas because now they're realizing we need more, more eyes out in the ground, and that's what it comes down to. These type of park searches, and that's why drones are a good part and parcel to use that. More technology available to you, so you have that. You utilize dogs, you utilize all of the things that you have at your availability. But how big is that park? How much distance could he cover within that time frame? That's where the problem starts. Like how far can you extensively continue that grid search to, that's resources, that's manpower. And that's why the technology you're going to use is with the drone.
Welcome to Stone Countertops, the industry-leading epoxy brand that teaches do-it-yourselfers and contractors alike how to save or make thousands remodeling with epoxy. Our revolutionary formula combines affordability with results that will stand the test of time in homes, offices, and commercial spaces. With their easy-to-use products and step-by-step instructions, you can unleash your creativity and achieve professional-looking results every single time. Our epoxy has zero VOCs, is heat, scratch, and UV resistant, and is also food safe. Whether you're a DIY enthusiast, handyman, woodworker, or even an artist, explore our website and discover the limitless ways in making your dream space become a reality.
It's manpower, and that's why the technology you're going to use is with the drone.
Right, and like how you mentioned drones, they're maybe even using heat sensors, things advanced like that. We also know that the governor, he just allowed the authorities, more helicopters for them to use as well to try to, fly above and try to find the suspect. We know that his cell phone is also off. You mentioned that earlier. What role, though, does cell phone tracking or Wi-Fi pings play when someone tries to disappear? Is it possible that before he turned his phone off, they could ping where he was?
Well, that's what they're doing. They're trying to backtrack. You can do that type of search after the fact. But the thing is now that phone has been off since this incident has taken place, apparently. Is there a chance he has another phone, a burner phone, that they don't have access or records to? This is a person with extensive military training. He's researched these things about going to Canada, so he could have the off the grid that we know of, but be back on the grid on a burner phone, those type of phones that just, are easily accessible. But he's also knows he's not going to turn it on right away, and that's the thing. The planning there is what we have to look at. How well was this planned? And that's why he's relatively homeless and he lived in his car. We're going to look back and maybe find materials, people he knew before, a step back to get that information that maybe help you find what happened post-event.
What would someone like Travis need to survive out there for weeks or even months? We know that during a press conference, police say that he could have possibly placed some things around the area. I'm just trying to figure out, how does a person survive?
Well, that's the thing. You see these reality shows where they do nature, people survive against nature. He's done this for weeks at a time. And I'm going to, let's just presume it, speculate, he prepped prior to going there. So he has the capability, he has the wherewithal, and probably the supplies to last an extended period of time in the woods or in that forest. But then, access to water may become an issue. Access to any, how cold is it? If you have the materials to stay out there for a long period of time. It's possible. This is a person who's trained to do this. And you have to really look at that and hunker down, and that's why you have to get the psyche, and that's why I think it's always good to go back and talk to his former colleagues, to commanding officers, and find out what extensive training does he have, and where he's done. And they're hearing that he's gone away, disappeared for days and weeks at a time. This isn't something that a person a New York City resident who just doesn't really deal with the nature aspect of it. He knows what he's doing.
And let's talk about crossing borders. The bodies were found about 11 miles from the Canadian border. How easy is it for him to get to Canada? Because, of course, when I think about crossing a border, I'm thinking about in a car, and clearly you have to show your passport. But if he's on foot and he's used to doing this, Is it possible for him to just have found a way around the border police and just get there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one thing that, how secure are the borders in this case? How secure are the northwestern borders between Canada and the U.S.? This park and this national park, and it's apparently you could find access to that. He could go to Canada and no one would be there. He could be in there for 2 or 3 days and no one would know, because that border isn't as, this is the one thing about borders. How secure are they? And it looks like more than likely it wasn't secure enough for one person to walk just across a park and go, I'm here in the U.S., now I'm in Canada.
How quickly can local law enforcement coordinate with Canadian authorities in a case like this if they do believe that he has crossed the border?
I believe they've already started. The ball's rolling on that. They probably have the local bounties. They're going to have their federal authorities involved, their local authorities. They're going to share information, share their intel back and forth, what they may have, what they don't have. And that's the benefit with law enforcement. It's about cooperation. It's about doing what's right, doing the right thing. In this case, it's the right thing. All of them are going to look for is apprehending him.
And let's just get into Travis's mind right now. What kind of mindset do you think someone like him is in? Like, what do you think he's dealing with? What do you think he's thinking about? Do you think that he has access to the media to be hearing, what we're talking about? Because during a press conference, the police, they're calling out to him. They're saying, Travis, please, turn yourself in. But maybe he's not even hearing this right now.
That's a possibility. I mean, there's an endless amount, an endless string of possibility with what he did. The mindset, I can't even understand the mindset of a person who would asphyxiate his 3 kids, tie them up, put bags on their head. And we don't know how, we're hearing, we'll get the autopsy, what blunt force trauma they suffered, were they lined up one by one. I mean, the mindset of this person is warped at this point. But one thing happens that we see a lot is the skills that you develop and were trained in, you always fall back on. And that's what he's going to do right now with what he's doing. He planned Canada. He had that thing in his Google search. He was at that scene prior to. So this goes back to the thing. This is a planned event. This is a planned triple murder of his kids. As to why he did it, there's a myriad of reasons, possibly mental illness, PTSD, vengeance against the ex-wife. I don't know, but he had a good relationship with the kids, apparently. So I don't know the mindset, whether to end all ties with the United States and go to Canada and live his life, being homeless, and a homeless vet and not getting any access to aftercare, mental health care, that could just weigh on him and just decided, I'm out. But the end result is he is believed to be responsible for the murder of his 3 kids. And that's what we have to look at. I can't worry about the mindset is a guy who's leaving the scene and moving on from his life. This isn't a person who committed suicide. We have not found his remains of his body is there. All we know is this person is on the loose. He's killed his kids, and he is trained to kill, and he is dangerous at this time. So that mindset, we can't worry about the mindset more than just what we know about him right now.
And I'm assuming you've tracked people like this before. Are there any consistent behaviors or mistakes that fugitives tend to make? Because at some point, we have to think that Mr. Decker is going to slip up. Or with a person as smart and as trained as him, it's possible that maybe he won't make any mistakes. What do you think?
Well, that's the benefit of social media and putting those recent photos out there. And that's the reason why we share information that's going to be posted everywhere that he could possibly have been or got to within the time frame that he's in. It really matters, and I always say the public is very important in this type of case because there's only a certain amount of set of eyes that law enforcement has. This type of case, we need everybody involved. We need the public's involvement. We need that person who sees him and calls 911 and says, I see him, he's located here. So that's the reason why we try to get more information out as quickly as possible to locate where he is. And that's why, no matter what law enforcement can do, it really matters on the public's help in this. We see this all the time. This is how apprehension takes place. Somebody sees something and says something. And this is the time when it needs to be done.
And we know that the public has been helping. Authorities say that they've received over 500 tips. How do investigators actually vet and prioritize that volume of information?
Well, when you take these type of these tips, you have to sort of triage in the sense what is most valid, what is most viable, and with the sources that you have, and this comes back to the resources. How many people can go out with 500 tips? You kind of have to look into that triage effect for what's the best tip available to us. And even though you think we both worry about tip number 500, we all worry about tip number 500, but we're going to have to see what is the best available option for us to do. These are the things that we do, and that's why the public health is very beneficial, but we have to limit the resources of law enforcement is how many people can go out and look at these tips. And that's why they do kind of triage them and see what's the best available information out there. And what they do is they vet the information as they do these tips. So I see this person in a laundromat, and they'll send someone to a laundromat, and if there's video, they'll get the video surveillance and see if that's the person there. If the person's called, he's here now, the immediacy of the response by first responders, by the police, is extremely important in these cases.
And while we know that police are asking, people to come forward if they have seen something, if you see something, say something, they're also warning residents to lock their doors and to keep their lights on. How real?
Why do you need to warn people about locking their doors? That's supposed to be common sense. Whatever.
Is the threat to the public right now?
That's the other issue. We talk about the mindset of this individual. We don't know what his mindset is. We know he's fleeing from a triple murder. Is there a chance he's looking to seek refuge in a location? That's the reason why the warning's out there. We want people to be vigilant. And, lock your doors, lock your windows. There's nothing wrong with that. You just want to make it your location or your residence the least available option for this person to get into. And that's the reason why that notification goes out there, that warning. Does it mean he's going to be an extreme threat? It's possible. And we'd rather err on the side of caution. As far as law enforcement is concerned, we want to make sure that, you want to make everyone notified of this. You want to make sure that they're locking the doors and windows. If they see something, say something. We want them to be vigilant because this is a person that or allegedly killed. But we're looking at a person who's being to be arrested for a triple murder at this point, and how much of a threat he is to the general public, it's not known. But is there a chance? Yeah, there's a chance.
Well, this is a story that we will be following very closely. David, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much, and